Before I start to speak about my experiences on the Dawah table, I just want to say that it's a bit of a new experience for me to be up here. So forgive me if I bore you or if for my shortcomings. I'd also like to thank you all for attending and to listen to us about the work that we're doing. My experiences on the Dawah table have been very brief. I've only been up there 3 times, and I've only engaged with a few people. But so far, I can honestly say that it's been a bit of a love-hate relationship. I was telling some of the brothers last week that, you know, at times I feel so frustrated being there. But at other times, when you have someone who wants to listen, it can be quite enjoyable. When you have a non-Muslim who approaches you and they actually want to learn about the faith, it's really promising. You know, it makes you feel happy that there's people out there who actually want to listen. But when there's someone who comes there to look for trouble, you know, they're posing difficult questions on a continuous basis, and they don't really want to learn anything about your faith, it can be quite a difficult experience and quite frustrating. My patience has been tested a few times from my own personal experience. Before I go into my, you know, chosen experience, you know, where I've engaged with a person on the Dawah table, I want to ask anyone from the audience who can give me one important characteristic that a person who's running a Dawah table should have. Is there anyone?
Basic knowledge about his own faith.
Okay, so the brother said basic knowledge about his own faith. That's very important. You have to do that. I mean, you cannot stand behind the table if you don't have that. Approachable, someone friendly. Yep.
Please.
Sir?
Tolerant.
Tolerant. Okay.
Listen.
Listen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big smile.
A big smile. Okay, they're all very good points. But I think no one mentioned one thing I was looking for, and that was patience. Yep. And that's what I'm going to speak about. On my very first occasion, when I stood behind the Dawah table, I was with a few brothers here, and there was someone who was standing by the bus stop. He was an Englishman, young, and one of the brothers invited him over. He came over and he had, well, the brother asked him, do you know anything about Islam? He came over saying, no, I'm white, I'm English, and I'm Christian. That's what he said. So the brother responded, he said, there's no problem with that, you know, there's Muslims who are English, who are white, you know, this faith is for everyone. Anyway, the conversation moved on, and he said, what race is your God? That's what he said. So I responded, and I said, we believe in one God, who is eternal, who is for everyone. Not just for the black man or the white man or for any other colour, but one God for everyone. He goes, so what's all this nonsense you have here, this propaganda? He goes, I believe that Jesus is my God. And Jesus had a mother. And he went into something, you know, which I can't really share with you guys because it was a bit obscene. But it just showed the type of person he was and what he was looking for. You know, he was looking to make a bit of trouble. He tried to be a bit intimidating and a bit aggressive, but we stayed polite and we tried to give him our concept and our beliefs. He didn't want to listen. I'll tell you 1 or 2 things that he said. I pulled him up on him believing that Jesus being his God and God having a mother, being Mary. I said, what about Mary? Did she have parents? He said, yeah. I said, does that mean Mary was greater than Jesus, than God? He goes, well, she was the mother of God. And then eventually he said, I asked him about, you know, the belief in Allah, that God is one, never had a creator and wasn't born. He said, that's not possible, because he insisted that something could come out of nothing. That's what he was saying to me. I said to him, what came before the universe? He said, the Big Bang. I said, what came before the Big Bang? And this was hilarious. None of us laughed, but he said, evolution. He said, evolution came before the Big Bang. So at that point, I realized that he wasn't serious and he had no real knowledge about what he was talking about. So we invited him, we were polite to him, we were respectful, even though at times he tested our patience, he was rude. There was a black person there and he called him an ape. Yeah? He wasn't part of, the brothers on my table, but he was just standing there, and I pulled him up on that. I said, look, you're being rude, you're calling someone an ape. I said, in our faith, we accept everyone. Islam is not just for, we were all from the subcontinent, the brothers that were standing behind the table. I said, it's not only for people from the subcontinent or for the Arabs, but it's for the white, the black, and for everyone. Eventually, without taking any materials, he jumped on the bus and left us. That's my only regret. I hope that I had the opportunity to give him some material so that he can go away thinking, perhaps he could have gained something from us. I think the only benefits that we took out of that was the way we responded. We didn't fall for the bait. He was aggressive. He was, being rude. Tried being intimidating, but we spoke respectfully. And but yeah, that's just the type of experiences that we get. So being patient is very important in my eyes.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Unfortunately, you've got me again. Okay, I'm just going to speak to you briefly about the first time actually started on the Dawah Stall was last Sunday. I have actually done a Dawah Stall before, actually in Ilford, probably going back about 8, 9, 10 years ago. It was not a very different time, but for me it was a very different time in my life. And I think it kind of reflected in the outcome that I saw last Sunday compared to what I used to go through before. I was standing there with Fahad, and the first person who came was an English lady, probably around 60 odd years old, and she came over to us and she said, she was very angry. She said, I must say, you're being very, very provocative here. I come back from Mass and I don't expect to see something like this. I feel like a minority in my own country. And she said, do they not let you stand outside the exchange? Is that why you've come and stood over here? Do they not let you stand over there? And so, it was the first time I'd had that after quite a while. So, we had to take a bit of a deep breath. And then we listened to her grievances because, okay, some of it was due to ignorance, but actually some of it, there might be a bit of truth that you need to sympathize with. So, without going into detail with regards to the whole conversation, myself and Fahad spoke to her for approximately 45 minutes. She started talking about different things, and in the course of the conversation, we never reacted in the way that she actually started speaking to us. We always kept our composure, we acknowledged some of the things that she said, and we tried to clear up misconceptions. And as we were going from the start to the end, she started saying about Muslims in general. She's speaking negatively about Muslims in general. And then a little bit further, after a while, she would say, most Muslims, maybe not you two gentlemen, I can see you're very, very reasonable, but most Muslims are, such and such in a negative way. Eventually it was like, some Muslims are negative. And by the end of the conversation, she was like, okay, most Muslims are good. That minority you need to take care of. And, we acknowledged that. And we said, we've also got minorities among Christians like the BNP and the EDL and the Ku Klux Klan that we need to take care of as well. We didn't want to get too much into the politics. We wanted to bring it back to the worship of Allah. But sometimes people have so many misconceptions that it's difficult to do that. And obviously, being one of our objectives, we wanted to try and tackle those objectives. So by the end of the 45 minutes, she was smiling, laughing, and, all these things with us. And at the end, she said, okay, well, we said to her, look, take away, a couple of books about the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So she agreed to do that, and she said, okay, also give me something about Jesus as well, and what you say about Jesus. So in the end, she took 3 books away, 2 about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and 1 about our view of Jesus or Isa alayhi salam. Briefly, just two benefits I want to talk about, 2 things that I realized during that time. When I mentioned I actually took part in the Dawah Stall, some of us brothers, we used to go and set up there, about 10 years ago. It was probably sort of just before 9/11 and just after. Now, in terms of Islamic knowledge and the evidences for Islam, I don't think I've learned much new in essence. However, the results were very, very different yesterday to what I used to get before. And the thing that I realized is that more than the knowledge you have is down to the way you are with a person. And, Brother Harun, mashallah, he mentioned before the quality of listening. And this is a very, very important quality. Listening to people, communicating with them, empathizing with them. You have to get onto someone's level first and gain their trust before they actually start listening to you. And it makes a world of difference, believe me. And it's something that I saw the other day compared to before, where maybe it was just like a tick box, list. One of the other things one of the other benefits, it's kind of a minor point, maybe a side point, is the issue of the way we dress. Because she raised a point, and she was talking about newspaper reports and TV reports. You have Muslims coming on in long robes and long beards and shouting insults to people, and we had to try and explain to her how this association is created between all these evils that she sees in some people and people who dress a certain way, where she's seeing those people and then all of a sudden she's assuming that people who dress like that, they must be the same. So we tried to break down that misconception, but it also got me thinking, and we were both standing there, we had Western clothing, and there was another brother who came afterwards who actually had a long thobe. But one point is that when we dress differently, and there's, inshallah, there's nothing wrong with it, whether we dress in a Western way or, as long as we're abiding by the basic standards of modesty, there's no problem with dressing in our ethnic clothing or our Western clothing. But if we do want to dress in our ethnic clothing, we actually have to make more of an effort to engage with people, because there's already that barrier there. So it's not that you can't engage, but you actually have to go out of your way to engage. You have to maybe call people over to your house. You have to start talking about things that they find interesting, just to humanize the situation a little bit. So they're just 2 minor benefits that I thought I would share with the brothers.